Epilogue. It was December 22nd, or Christmas Eve, as so John so irritatingly called it. I was alone, staring out of the kitchen window of a cheap, mostly empty mobile home supplied by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. There was a single Christmas card on the counter next to me, laying on top of its mutilated envelope. The trailer had come with furniture, but the sofa smelled so bad we had dragged it out into the yard. I think the trailer had previously seen service in New Orleans after the hurricane, and I think it got moldy. In the corner of the living room was our Christmas tree, a 2-foot-tall plastic tree with huge googly eyes and a mechanical mouth. John had found it in a thrift store. It had a voice box on the bottom, and I think originally it was supposed to do a humorous Christmas rap when somebody walked by. When we put batteries in it, the mouth locked in the wide-open position and uttered a high-pitched electronic scream of garbled feedback until we pried the batteries out again. Under the tree sat John's gift, a wrapped object that was perfectly the shape of a crossbow. I had a feeling it would take me years to piece together the whirlwind of lies that obscured the incident the news media had finally decided to call the Zulu outbreak. The consensus seemed to be that fewer than 70 people who were ever actually infected with the pathogen, which they decided was some kind of rare form of bovine spongiform encephalopathy, caused by the consumption of some kind of mutated protein from contaminated sausages. So the final death toll was, according to the final CDC reports, 68 dead from Zulu, 406 dead from the violence resulting from mass hysteria. Plenty of people from in town came forward to dispute those reports, and plenty of other people came forward to dispute those reports. 100 different versions came out, and so the public just defaulted to what the guys in suits told them. In the end, they didn't need to cover up anything. They just drowned it out in a blizzard of conflicting stories. The world eventually gives up and moves on, like the whole thing with the envelopes of anthrax after 9/11. Well, whatever. Now it was a matter of seeing if there would be another outbreak, maybe in another town, but nothing so far. Snow was inching up the little wooden cross we had planted at Molly's grave. Every time I looked at it, I imagined replacing it with a little star and crescent, so my neighbors would think that somehow my dog had died of practicing Muslim. I was waiting for a call from Amy, but instead I got a knock at my door. I assumed it was a reporter, which kind of cheered me up because I was making a fulfilling hobby out of giving a completely different version of the story to each and every one of them I spoke to. Why let everybody else have all the fun? But when I opened the door, there was Detective Lance Falconer, in a black turtleneck and looking cropped from a cover of GQ. It actually took me a second to notice the crutches. Once inside my living room, I said to him, "You knocked. Usually you just let yourself in." "I spent 5 weeks in the hospital, Juan. I'm in no mood." "Merry Christmas Eve. "What?" "I got some frozen taquitos in the oven. You want one?" "I don't even know what that is." "Look, I'm not going to waste your time. I just got off the phone with my agent. I'm talking about doing a book on the Zulu thing, and he informs me that there are no fewer than 13 books on the subject in the pipeline." "Yeah, I know. Marconi's writing one. His will be the best. Though I got to admit, the one I'm most looking forward to reading is Owen's." "And you're writing one?" "Well, Amy, actually. She's my ghostwriter. They just put my name on the cover." "My point is," he said, straining for patience, "is that they're fine with multiple books because they're from different angles. But yours and mine are basically the same, because we kind of went through it together." "Oh, I can see that." "And they don't want mine because they already have yours." "Oh, right. I mean, you should have moved faster to make a deal." "I was in the hospital recovering from getting sprayed with a fucking machine gun." "Oh, right. Right. I don't suppose I can change your mind?" I said, "Detective, I want you to use your powers of deduction to detect the fact that I'm living in a goddamned FEMA trailer. The video store just opened back up 2 weeks ago. No paycheck that whole time. I go back to work and the first customer I get is Jimmy Dupree, returning his copy of Basic Instinct 2. I'm like, 'You're paying late charges on that. Wasn't in the deposit box when I got here this morning.' He didn't like that. I thought there was some kind of victims fund from the government. There is, and maybe one of these days I'll actually get a check in the mail in return for the 8,000 forms I had to fill out. But they're going to sit on it until they see what I write in the book. They want to see how I tell the story, if you understand what I'm saying. And how are you going to tell the story? I'm going to tell the most ridiculous possible version of it I can think of. People are going to close it and be like, what the fuck did I just read? He nodded. I have material that you won't have access to. I got transcripts of the radio chatter between the pilots. Some other stuff you won't be able to get. I'd love to have you on board. I'll cooperate on one condition. You portray the coolest version of me possible. I'm talking total action hero here. If you're making things up, then embellish me into a badass. I can do that. And give me a cool name. And make me good looking. Sure. And see I drive a Porsche. What? Where are you going to get a Porsche on a cop's salary? Because I'm awesome. Alex Cross drives one. So does Lucas Davenport. What, are those cops you know? He headed for the door, moving more smoothly on the crutches than I did on my own legs. On his way out, he turned and said, and don't put a bunch of bullshit in my mouth, or get cute and try to make me look stupid. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go to the salon to have my pubic hair straightened and dyed white so that my dick looks like Santa Claus. He closed the door, farting loudly all the way to his car. I went and pulled my taquitos from the oven. I let them cool and went back to my place at the kitchen window. Falconer's gleaming new Porsche was turning around in my yard, pulling through the snow and disappearing down the street. Actually, now that I looked at it, I think it was a Ferrari. I ate a taquito. As I chewed, the light changed behind me. A shadow grew over the surface of the kitchen counter. I had time to notice the shadow had no left hand. It spoke. Hey! I spun, saw pale skin and freckles and red hair. I said, oh, hey, I was waiting for you to call. John picked me up at the bus station while you were out shopping. Mary... My words were interrupted by Amy throwing her arms around my ribs, squeezing like she was trying to deflate me. She said, I brought cupcakes. I left them by the... It was her turn to be interrupted, by me pulling her shirt over her head. Dor, can we go get Cuban coffee later? Uh-huh, sure, I said, working the zipper on her pants. Oh my god, David, they will not stop calling me. I changed my number and the reporters found it like 2 days later. When does this end? When do things get back to normal? Who knows? We were both naked by the time she made it to the question mark. I was half asleep, curled up against her in the bed. Amy in the sweats and t-shirt she wore as pajamas. She was reading the Christmas card that had been laying on my counter. When did it come? I mumbled. A couple days ago. The front was a festive Christmas scene over the words Feliz Navidad. Inside, scrawled in red magic marker, were the words Merry Xmas to Walt and Amy and dog. There was no return address. That is so cute. She's just as bad at names as you are. She said, David? I don't know if I told you, but I'm seeing somebody. Okay. Is he good looking? A counselor, I mean, for the post-traumatic stress and all that. Oh, okay, sure, that's good. Let me know if he's a supervillain. I drifted off again. David. What, is it morning? Do you ever wish you didn't know any of this? Like if you could just erase it from your brain so you'd be like everybody else? Sure. Actually, no. Because if somebody came along and offered me the chance, like if they told me I could take a pill and could make it all go away, I wouldn't do it. I'd be afraid the good stuff would go away too. Like maybe I imagined all of it, but then maybe I imagined you too. I'm not saying you imagined it all, obviously. That's exactly what you would say, if you were also imaginary. All right, go to sleep. Hey, you started it. Silence. I drifted off. She said, I was going back and reading Marconi's last book again, and there's this part that always gets me. He points out that the amount of the universe a human can experience is statistically like 0%. You've got this huge universe, trillions of miles of empty space between galaxies, and all a human can perceive is a little tunnel a few feet wide and a few feet long in front of our eyes. So, he says we don't really live in the universe at all. We live inside our brains. All we can see is like a blurry little pinhole in a blindfold, and the rest is filled in by our imagination. So whatever we think of the world, whether you think the world is cruel or good or cold or hot or wet or dry or big or small, that comes entirely from inside your head and nowhere else. We laid in silence for a while. Finally, I said, wouldn't it be nice if that was true? Amy's answer was a soft snore. And that is the end of the book. Took a while to get through it. I apologize. I slacked on recording, but that's it right there. There's a section for acknowledgments at the back of the page where the actual writer, the author, Jason Pargan, just kind of gets some acknowledgments and all this, and says thank you for reading. But yeah, all in all, that is This Book is Full of Spiders, the sequel to John Dies at the End. If you didn't hear the first book first, what the fuck is wrong with you? There's a mistake, a grievous error on your part in judgment. How dare you? Tisk tisk. No, I really recommend either reading for yourself, or if you like listening to me read it, go back. There's a link in the description for my John Dies at the End read through. It's a bit more organized and concise because unlike this one, it's not split up into like chapters and sections that are a paragraph or two long, which annoyed me, but my OCD kicked in, so sorry about that. Anyway, so that is This Book is Full of Spiders. Now, as I said before that I would do, because the book came out almost a year ago now, last October, I believe, What the Hell Did I Just Read, which is the third book in the John Dies at the End series, was released. I've already read it, love it like the others, and I still plan on reading that. That and his other book, Futuristic Violence and Fancy Suits, but I am going to record What the Hell Did I Just Read soon enough. The only question is if I should wait until I move or not, because the move is coming up soon. So, might be a bit of a break between the two, but then hopefully I can get to a much more consistent, at least like one chapter a week or one chapter every couple days, every few days, something like that. I'm sure I'll figure it all out, but I will be recording What the Hell Did I Just Read? I promise it'll be on this channel in due time. And after that, I do plan on also doing the recording for Futuristic Violence and Fancy Suits. I didn't think my channel would go from read-throughs of short college essays and video game playthroughs to like full read-throughs of some fucking weird-ass shit. But it seems par for the course in the random content that I've seemingly uploaded. So, yeah. But again, I don't want to prattle on too much longer. I do want to thank you all, again, very much for watching. If I go back and look at my John Dies at the End read-through, the support I got during that, although it's a very, very, very small community of support, like more people watching it and even fewer commenting on it, but I don't think I got any negative press. Granted, my first chapters of John Dies at the End I read really fast, and to this day I still have an issue with trying to pace myself when reading and actually enunciating the words and such. I get caught up in a story. My mind races a million miles a minute. My mouth tries to keep up, usually to no purchase. But, to hear comments of people that loved hearing the read-through and that love me reading the book and look forward to when I post about it, and then even to have people say that the way that I portray David, my bad. The way that I portray David Wong, like I am like David. Like they think about David and my voice is what comes to mind. That's incredible. That's very humbling. That's an honor, really. It's not like this is a New York Times bestseller or anything, but I love this book a lot. And for somebody to say you are like David Wong, like that's just really cool. So I appreciate that. And I hope to continue that legacy of sorts as I read through What the Hell Did I Just Read, which is just another really good one. So, again, thank you guys and gals so much for the support, for the views. I don't monetize anything because fuck ads right now, and I obviously don't have a big enough following on YouTube to make any remotely any type of income. Am considering, if I were to gain traction and get at least 1,000 people, maybe like a Patreon or something, but that's way, way, way in the distance. So in the meantime, what really helps me out is just you watching, commenting, liking, saying what you dislike or anything like that. Any type of communication. We just hit 720 subscribers on the day that I recorded this. That's really cool. I'm really excited because I think that the possibility of reaching 1,000 is actually very likely. And that'd be really cool. So, thank you. I'll stop prattling on and giving my whole spiel. But thank you for listening to Movie Man, that's me, reading through this book is full of spiders. And stay tuned for the next read through I'll do, which is going to be What the Hell Did I Just Read? Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode of What I Do Next. And as always, goodbye. Sorry. Goodbye, travelers.